please rise for the chief guests.
Our chief guest, Mr. Tim Sutton, head of UNICEF Sri Lanka,
Mr. Phil Shawson, head of the OEC School of Colombo,
Mr. Michael Cragen, chairman of the board of directors of OSC,
Mr. McQuillan, head of secondary school OSC,
Janet De Silva, secretary general of COMUN 2019,
Viras Pialis, under secretary general of COMUN 2019,
Jivanta Indra, co-head of administration,
Mandy Moisekra, co-head of administration,
and Ms. Jasmine Bhattacharjee, the faculty advisor of COMUN 2019, to light the oil lamp.
Please remain standing for the Sri Lankan national anthem.
Please take your seats. Good morning, and welcome to the 25th consecutive session of the Colombo-operated Model United Nations, sponsored by the Overseas School of Colombo. I'm Rishen Dasanayake, President of the G20, and competing with me today is Namya Arora, Vice President of the Security Council. I would like to call upon Mr. Michael Cragen, Chairman of the Board of Directors of OSCE, to begin the 25th session with the welcome address.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Overseas School of Colombo. We are really delighted to have all of you here. I'm Michael Cragen. I'm the chair of the board of directors here at Overseas School. And because our school is independent and private, I'm also a parent at the school, and all of the board members at our school are parents of students at Overseas School. And so that's something that makes our school quite special. Another thing that makes Overseas School quite special is our motto, which you may have seen in different places around the school, which is unity in diversity. And it's something that's quite easy to say, but maybe somewhat more difficult to practice. And so I'd like you to keep in mind that motto, unity in diversity, as you go through your different activities in this Model United Nations. Because sometimes we think of diversity as a different color of skin, or a different language, or a different look, or a different country that we come from. And those are all true, those are all legitimate. definitions of diversity, but the person sitting next to you, even if he or she grew up in the same country and maybe speaks the same mother tongue, might be quite different from you. She might have different interests. She might approach things from a different point of view. He might be planning to do something different with his life than what you're planning to do with your life. And the experiences that we have, aside from our race or our skin color or our gender, the experiences we have also make us diverse. And so I would ask you, as you go through these activities, to remember that we are diverse and we can also be unified. And that comes through developing a certain level of respect and a certain level of empathy for people who are different from you. That doesn't mean that we all have to become the same, and we shouldn't. It does mean that we should strive to understand each other, understand people who have different points of view, understand people who have different experiences, understand people who have different goals. And even though you won't become them, your life and yourself will become better and richer through that experience. And so with that, I welcome you again to Overseas School of Colombo, welcome you again to this Model United Nations, and I hope you will practice this idea of unity in diversity. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Cragen.
Colombo Model United Nations here at OSC has witnessed 25 years of provoking debate, 25 years of reiterating diplomacy, and 25 years of unparalleled opportunities. On behalf of the entire Executive Committee, I would like to welcome each and every one of you here today, and it is with great pleasure that I begin the opening ceremony of the 25th session of COMUN.
The COMUN 2019 theme, Reconstituting Global Perspectives, is a theme brainstormed by the EXCO. This is our attempt to find solutions to current world problems, moving away from stereotypical views and opinions to revolutionize the ways we see and face crises and change mindsets.
Good morning, everyone, and a very warm welcome to the Overseas School of Colombo. I've spoken with many of you already in the run-up to this final weekend of debate, and I hope you have enjoyed the time thus far and are ready for the final competition. I'm very delighted to welcome Mr. Sutton this morning. He has been a representative of UNICEF for some time and began in Sri Lanka in October 2016. Prior to his current position, he was Deputy Representative for UNICEF Programme in China. Mr. Sutton is a development professional with more than 20 years of experience managing UNICEF's programmes for children and women in South Asia, the Middle East and Pacific and East Asia. He's a national of New Zealand and first joined UNICEF back in 1996 in the office in Bangladesh as a project manager. In 1999, he was transferred to Iraq to lead UNICEF's advocacy and communication programme in the country. In 2002, he was appointed as the Deputy Representative for UNICEF's programme in Bhutan, and in 2006, he transferred to the Pacific Sub-Regional Office as the Deputy Representative to 14 Pacific Island countries. Mr. Sutton is a father of 3 children and a parent at OSC. His wife, Prue, holds a bachelor's degree from the University of Otago. With his wife. He holds a bachelor degree from the University of Otago, New Zealand, and a master's degree from the University of Exeter, UK. I should like to welcome Mr. Sutton to the stage.
Good morning, everybody. That was quite an introduction. Thank you, Ms. McQuillan. But I'm just Tim, and as she said, I'm a father of 2 girls at OSC, and I have the honour and privilege of leading the UNICEF team here in Sri Lanka, working for women and children. And I'm so impressed that the focus of your Model United Nations is really trying to understand and seek answers to some of the most pressing problems that the world faces. So I'm going to talk a little bit about those. But first of all, I want to start with a quick quiz. And it's a very simple question with a very obvious answer. But my question to you is, how many young people, we'll take a definition, between the ages of 10 and 24, do you think we will have in the world by 2030? Show of hands for 500 million. Anyone for 500 million? Anyone for 1 billion? Yes, we're starting to get a few. Anyone for 1.5 billion? Excuse me. The answer is 2 billion, actually. That's a lot of people. And how about for South Asia? Any guesses? How much? 1 billion? Not quite that much. We'll have 330 adolescents in South Asia by 2030. No, actually, sorry, I'm reading my notes incorrectly. We have 330 million adolescents in South Asia now, which accounts for 30% of the world's adolescent population. All of you are part of that and the 1.8 billion adolescents we have around the world. And it's important to understand the scale or the demographics of this, because you guys are going to and are taking on leadership positions in your families, communities, in your schools, and progressively in the societies and countries that we all live in. It's a phenomenal opportunity and a phenomenal responsibility. But we all know that the world is facing some very severe challenges. Many of you will understand that there are pressures now on the very idea of freedom and democracy that we didn't think would come back, at least in my lifetime. So I'd like to talk to you today a little bit about how I think we can work better together to build a more peaceful, a more prosperous, and a more sustainable future here in Sri Lanka and around the world. You're a model UN, so you know that the UN's agenda, and it's not the UN's agenda alone, the UN is the expression of more than 190 member states and their people. And it is our common agenda that we achieve sustainable development progress as articulated in the Sustainable Development Goals for 2030. And those goals, there are 17 of them, and there are I don't know how many targets and 300 indicators. But what they really mean is that we are committed to working together in new ways to make sure that everybody, and that's key, everybody, has access to and can enjoy the services that help meet and fulfill their basic human rights. But achieving this depends, we believe, I believe, I'm the head of UNICEF in Sri Lanka, achieving this depends on what we do for our children today. Children, when we talk about sustainable development goals, the development goals are clear. The sustainability part of it is the bit that I don't think is so well defined, but I define it as being about children. Children, the next generation, the current generation. You, young people, children, are the key to sustainability. It is you that will pick up what my generation and other generations leave for you and take that forward and develop that and make it better for everybody. You are the key to the Sustainable Development Goals. And making sure that all children have access to the services, the support that they need to reach their full potential is the key to the Sustainable Development Goals. We believe that safe, healthy and well-educated children are the very foundations for a peaceful and fair society. And societies can only develop in a manner if the basic needs and rights of its children, particularly the poorest and most vulnerable, are fulfilled. In Sri Lanka, I just want to talk about two issues. There are so many issues that we need to address. Climate change, the economy, all these things. But I want to talk about two issues that I think are particularly pressing for children and for all of us in Sri Lanka. The first of those is nutrition. We all understand the importance of food and good nutrition in supporting children's health, growth and development. Good nutrition allows children to grow, learn and contribute to their communities. Yet in Sri Lanka, a country that is well developed, is a middle income country, we still have nearly 1/5 of all children in this country not getting enough food, affected by wasting, and more importantly still affected by stunting. And what stunting does, if you are stunted in the first 3 years of life, you don't get enough food, the losses in brain development can never be made up. By not providing adequate nutrition for our children, we are literally wiping IQ points off the next generation. And that lost potential is lost potential for those individuals, for their families, for their communities, and for Sri Lanka as a whole. That means that next generation, those children affected, cannot reach their full potential, cannot contribute to the economic health, the social well-being, to the full extent that they might. And Sri Lanka needs them to. The second thing that I think is particularly important for young people and for Sri Lanka as a whole is the issue of violence. Violence in all its forms. This is a country that has come out of 30 years of civil war. There is a legacy of post-traumatic stress. There are cultural norms that support the physical punishment of children in homes, families, and in schools. Physical violence, psychological violence, whether you experience violence or witness violence. We now know through the miracle of brain scanning technology that when a child, young person, a vulnerable person, even witnesses violence, it releases cortisone in the brain. And that actually stunts, again, the development of children's brains. And again, impacts on their ability to develop to their full potential. It's a horrible thing for children to experience. It's a moral outrage. But it is also an outrage that we allow this to continue in our families, communities, society, knowing that this is having such a devastating impact on individual children's future and on the future of this country. So, the human costs of not achieving sustainable development are massive. A disproportionate toll of not making the progress that we need will fall on the most vulnerable in our societies, those that are already experiencing the deprivations, some of which I've talked about. Your voices, choices, and participation are critical for a better, more sustainable future. You are simply not inheritors of this planet. You have the power to actively shape it in the present and transform it in the future. You are critical actors, partners, catalysts for sustainable change. By participating, by innovating, by advocating, by problem solving, each of you can, and I am sure will be, agents for positive change. I strongly believe that platforms like this, the Colombo Model UN, are excellent forums to hear the views and solutions of young people on critical global and national issues. The question for all of you now is, how am I going to take these solutions forward as agents of change? What am I going to do differently? Honourable delegates, I hope you'll discuss what it means to support the best interests of children and youth, in the best interests of our communities, our country, and our planet. And I'm sure you will become even more powerful advocates for change. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Sutton. I would like to request Mr. Cragen and Mr. Jocelyn to induct the Secretariat.
Mr. Janek De Silva, Secretary General of COMUN 2019.
Virat Diavis, Under Secretary General of COMUN 2019.
Mandri Sekra, Co-Head of Administration, COMUN 2019.
And Jeevanta Indra, Co-Head of Administration for COMUN 2019.
Cragen and Mr. Jocelyn.
I would now like to request the Under Secretary General Virat Diavis to address the delegates.
Good morning, delegates. I'd just like to make a few short words on this year's theme, Reconstituting Global Perspectives. Delegates, the UN has done much since its inception, for humanity, for the environment, and for international diplomacy. But in recent years, diplomacy has faced many issues. Old policies have clashed with modern sensibilities, and unfortunately, civil discourse seems to have fallen out of fashion in many parts of the world. In light of this, COMUN 2019 will be focused on amending old and building new connections, as well as reforming our perspectives on global politics to deal with a new and volatile world. Thank you, delegates.
Thank you, Under-Secretary General. Please remain on stage. Now we will proceed on to the induction of the EXCO and request the presence of Mr. Sutton, the Secretary, and the Secretary General. President of the Historic General Assembly, Atiq Azmi.
Vice President, Sansindu Abiasuri.
Chair, Sanjana Kumari.
President of the Third General Assembly, Harin Pereira.
Vice President of the Third General Assembly, Yanuli Sirapatana.
And Chair of GA3, Mahima Pasela.
President of General Assembly 4, Aditi Randeni.
Vice President of GA4, Rika Gunathilaka.
Our Head of International Press, Hussein Isuf Ali.
Deputy Head of IP, Tanish Munhatan.
Deputy Head of IP, Nirek Panditha.
And on to our tech team, the Head of Tech, Anudha Veerasinghe.
Deputy Head of Tech, Divyanshu Thakur.
Deputy Head of Tech, Yuji Wang.
Head of Media, Milo Pringers. Moving on to our SpecCom chairs, President of G20, Rishen Dasana. Vice President, Sehan Punchiheva. President of the Presidential Council, Prisha Satwani.
Vice President of the Presidential Cabinet, Oshaya Reddy. President of the Security Council, Prashant Fernando. And Vice President, Namya Arora. Thank you, Mr. Sutton, Secretary General and Under-Secretary General. I would now like to invite Ms. McQuillan, the heads of admin, Mandri and Jeevantha, to induct the non-chairs.
Nikita Advani, Head of Operations.
Amina Mustaqdeen, Deputy Head of Operations.
Sonura Jairatne, Deputy Head of Operations.
Tera Peruma, Head of International Operations.
Humayra Ahmed, Deputy Head of Admin.
Mindy Premaratha, Deputy Head of Admin.
Shiana Gardner, Deputy Head of Admin.
Dehan Kamagoda, Head of Community Service.
Shakya Banyarachi, Deputy Head of Community Service.
Thank you, Ms. McQuillan and co-heads of admin.
Secretary General, we now call upon you to open the session.
Have you ever had one of those moments where you're just like, how on earth did we get here? There was a time a while ago that we thought we actually wouldn't have this conference, and it's a little hard to believe that we're here. I mean, it's been 7 months of planning, bickering, laughing, and we made it, and I'm honored to stand with the Exco of 2019 for the COMUN. Our Exco, despite their sass and last-minute nature, is one of the most special, talented and witty groups of people that I have ever met, and I love all of you, truly. Okay, there are 3 pieces of advice that were given to me on my first conference by a very special person, and I would like to share those 3 same pieces of advice with everybody present here, regardless of your capacity or your committee, because they really did help me. Number 1, research is power. I'm sure you all know. I hope you all have all done your research. I hope. But the thing is, even if you spend hours and hours of research, like hours and hours of researching, and this is something I did as well, like I'm guilty as well, and you have stacks and stacks of paper, but you just sit there in committee and you don't use it. Like, what's the point, right? It's worthless. You need to stand up and face your fears when you're in comm. Okay, don't be afraid. The first time you speak up, it is scary. You feel that adrenaline rush. You feel a little bit nervous, but you get used to it. Start to enjoy it. And trust me, you'll love it. But don't waste all the hard work and effort you put into being here. Another thing to remember when you're doing a research is something very important, something very special to me, is sustainability. Our world is facing a huge environmental crisis. And in the next 50 years, we could see a total environmental collapse. And I'm sure all of you all know this. And the thing is, the main thing that can change this is the sustainable environmental policies of the countries, right, and of nations. So I want you all to remember that word, sustainability, and work that into your resolutions. And make sure all your solutions are viable long term, because it's very important for all of us. Number 2, make friends. Apart from the research and the debate, a huge part about MUN is making friends. I don't mean just like casually flirt with the person next to you, okay? I mean actually get to know them, get to know their backgrounds, get to know their stories. A huge part of being a diplomat is getting to know the people that you are trying to help, and only then can you solve their problems. Everybody has a unique and different perspective, right? And once you get to know all these different people, only then can you start to address the rest of the world. A huge part of my friend circle has been from MUN. I mean, a lot of my friends are here now. And they are some of my best friends. And honestly, get to know the people that you are sitting in comm with, and they will stick with you for the rest of your life. Number 3, be brave. And being brave doesn't mean, standing up and being a hero. It just means don't be afraid to be different. It means, standing out can be more rewarding than fitting in sometimes. And you can be brave in your own way, right? You can be brave by putting your placard up for the first time. Or you could point out a foreign policy violation by the best delegate. Or you could just try on a pink bow tie. Like, anything can be being brave. Okay, it's all up to you, but do be brave, do take that stand, because only once you do that will you realize how much more potential that you have and how much more you can achieve. I know a lot of you are very brave during the practice debates going to ask Ms. Jasmine to leave early. I don't think I could have done that. Congratulations. And on a final note, I hope that you have an amazing conference. The EXCO has worked tirelessly to put together this conference for everybody. And from all of us, we hope that you will give back to us as well by being the best delegates that you can. Please don't be afraid. Please stand up and speak out. Okay. I love the next line. I hope all of you know what it is. But before that, shall we just wake up a little bit? Can I get a cheer? Okay, who's ready to start? Should we do one more? One more. Okay, 1, 2, 3. There we go. Okay. By the power vested in me as Secretary General of COMUN 2019, I declare this session open.
Thank you, Secretary General. Please remain on stage.
The opening ceremony is almost concluded, and I would like to call upon the Under Secretary General to lead the chief guests, sponsors, faculty to the auditorium foyer for introduction, photographs, tree planting, and refreshments.
Okay, delegates. Okay, so we will leave in our comms. GA3, as you can see, is not set up yet. So you will, can someone close the doors at the back, please? Please close them. Yeah, thank you. Okay, we will follow the chairs of GA3 out to the junior playground while your committee is being set up, and you will have your photo. So stand up, GA3, and follow your chairs out. What? IP of GA3, follow them too.